Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
Welcome to Sunday Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. We are the Heaters. Today the Cardinals take on the Marlins. Go Cards!
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. The double bag giveaway on a Sunday afternoon. Beautiful day as the Cardinals look for a sweep against the Miami Marlins. St. Louis trying to go to 35 games above the 500 mark. Pitching has been terrific all season long and again in this series. Jaime Garcia, 8 1/3 on Friday night, the save for Rosenthal. Win number 10 of the season last night for John Lackey. The Cardinals are rolling and looking for a sweep. With Jim Hayes, Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Everything right now clicking for St. Louis.
Starting pitching has led the way all season long, but a couple of other good things to note. The Cardinals bullpen is rested for this game today, and we saw some life in the Cardinals offense yesterday. 6 runs on 13 hits. Maybe that's a sign of things to come.
Matt Carpenter has been red hot recently. He's at the top spot of this lineup. Carpenter and the Cardinals looking for a sweep. Playing great baseball here at home. A closer look at Cart is coming up. Baseball this afternoon. The Cardinals and the Marlins coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. Matt Carpenter, as the Cardinals have been very steady this year offensively. Carpenter, great start, dipped in June, back on the way up here in July and Have been very steady this year offensively. Carpenter, great start, dipped in June, back on the way up here in July and August. Carpenter 2 nights ago with home run number 18. He now has driven in 62. He'll bat leadoff this afternoon for the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals looking for a sweep and looking to go to 35 above 500. The Marlins and Cardinals coming up. Day baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Sunday afternoon. Great to see youngsters at the particular positions and getting autographs before our first pitch. St. Louis Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Make a plan to make it home. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealers for great prices on our all-new 2015 vehicles today. The Cardinals trying to make it 35 games above the 500 mark with a win here this afternoon. They're at 75 wins already this year. And a look at the Miami lineup. They'll try to stop that with D. Gordon leading things off the speedster. Then Miguel Rojas, his first start. He'll get it at third. Derek Dietrich. Then Justin Bour, homered last night. Marcelo Zuna, Cole Gillespie, Adeni Echeverria, Jeff Mathis, and David Phelps. St. Louis and making the start for Miami. Telis, a switch hitter on the bench. Suzuki will come from the left side. Prado, McGee, Realmuto from the right side for Dan Jennings' club. Carlos Martinez, it is start number 22 here this afternoon. And the first pitch is taken low on a hot afternoon here in St. Louis.
Martinez beat the Pirates on Tuesday, went 8 innings in that game, and interesting that the Cardinals starters are starting to go deeper in games. It's really been good to get rest for Segrist and Rosenthal. And Martinez, you just expect him to be good every time out. That's what he's shown us this year. Why wouldn't you expect it here this afternoon?
Trying for win number 13 and a base hit for D. Gordon. Gordon with 35 steals this year. The Hyundai pitch arsenal for Carlos Martinez.
Martinez has a nice assortment of pitches that move in different directions. I think that's important for a starter to have a variety. His changeup can be his best pitch at times, and his slider's his best pitch at times, and sometimes it's the fastball. And you just love that about Martinez. The question is, what's working today, you stay with it, and you use it.
Marlins have attempted the third most steals in the National League this year. Majority of those from D. Gordon. He has been caught 14 times to go along with 35. He was picked off the other day. There's only been 43 stolen base attempts this year against Yadier Molina, who leads all catchers in innings caught. He's caught 35% this year. Gordon faked going to second base. That pitch, a ball. But from a pitcher's perspective, Rick, as you get a look at Miguel Rojas and his numbers, but a guy like Gordon, how he can disrupt your rhythm towards the plate.
Well, he disrupts you, but the fact that you have Molina behind the plate helps you kind of stay a little bit normal in your delivery. You might not rush too much because you trust Yadi.
Not running, and the 1-0 is hit down the left field line. Will it stay fair? It's hooking, and that ball is foul. Home run distance as Rojas was trying to pick up his first of the year, and instead it's just a long strike. 1-1 the count. Kia in the driver's seat, focusing on stolen bases and Yadier Molina, and what a difference maker he can be.
Only 37 stolen bases allowed by the Cardinals this year, way ahead of the second team on that list, the Washington Nationals, and it's such a great weapon for the Cardinals to have. Now that may be skewed a bit too because not a lot of base runners against the Cardinals and teams trailing, so they may not run for that reason too.
1-1 is hit off the end of the bat.
Rojas, by the way, came over from the Dodgers in the trade that brought D. Gordon to Miami. And Rojas has one career home run. That came last year, and it was against Max Scherzer. Almost had his second.
Well, if you're going to get a home run, you do it against Max Scherzer. That's a pretty good guy to get it off of.
Text everybody you know, let them know.
Yeah. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The check on Gordon. Ooh, just back in safely. Went to the back portion of the bag. Rojas might be a little bit dizzy. Watch this. Bam. How about one more? Bam. Ouch.
Maybe he needs to get a bigger helmet.
I don't know.
Just like knocking it on, getting it the tight fit. Is that what he's doing?
I guess so. Taken high, and it's 2-2. Really, the big question coming into this game is who's going to stack the Cubs. Now that Martinez is pitching, who stacks the Cubs?
Does he have an apprentice, is what you're asking.
Walker's been watching a lot. Adams. Nice visit with Matt Adams and Jim Hayes today on the pregame show. Yadi couldn't get it out of the glove. Still trying to find the baseball. Still can't find it. Martinez has to pick it up. And the count runs to 3-2.
Yadi tries to be quick. He digs the curveball out. Not an easy pitch to make the transition from glove to hand. Did everything right body-wise. It just probably wasn't going to be enough time anyway to get Gordon.
You mentioned in the previous start the other night, which Martinez went deep into the game, controlled with his delivery to the plate. You noticed that from pitch number 1.
Yeah, he's much more deliberate in his mechanics. Sometimes you get out of the stretch in a hurry, and then you start to get in a hurry.
Martinez makes the play, and the liner back to him for the first out. Cardinals defense this afternoon. Piscotty in left, Grichuk in center, Hayward is in right. Carpenter, Cosmo, Wong, and Reynolds along the infield. Yadi behind the plate. That's presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers.
We mentioned this name the other night, Dan, a former shortstop that turned into a pitcher that pitched here with St. Louis, who I thought was a terrific leader for years in this Cardinal rotation, Woody Williams. And there's some things about Carlos Martinez defensively that remind me of Woody Williams. When you've got a former shortstop who's turned into a pitcher, you don't forget how to play defense. And you can tell Carlos likes to field his position. He's very quick with his hands, very agile on the mound.
One of the quickest and fastest Cardinals pitchers or even position players. That's only the second stolen base against Martinez this year. Number 36 for D. Gordon. He's at second base. Derek Dietrich at the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. Phil Cuzzy calling the balls and strikes. Jerry Davis, the crew chief, he's at first base. Will Little at second. Tony Randazzo down at third.
Miami last in the National League in runs per game, so I think you have to be careful about perhaps an attempt at third as well. Cosmo holding Gordon close there.
The 1-1.
If you don't score a lot, you got to find a way to manufacture.
Dan Jennings, the former general manager, is the field manager now in uniform for Miami. How tough do you think it would be to get the respect of your players if you're Dan Jennings?
Well, I think you're going to certainly get respect on one level, but clearly as a general manager, he's a guy that has been groomed to one of the top positions in the game, and you have to respect that background and the education that goes along with it, being around baseball, all of that. But the part about being in uniform in the dugout is a little different, and that's I'm sure going to be questioned often for the players that, you know, is this really his best place to be? And I'm sure they've had their moments with the Marlins over the last month and a half.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out, runner at second. Dietrich has hit 7 home runs. He's driven in 11 this year. How about that? A 2-1 changeup, then a 2-2 breaking ball, sit out. First strikeout for Martinez.
I love those 2 pitches, Dan, because they were complementary. Through the changeup that dipped away a little bit on the outside, so when Dietrich sees the ball off the plate, he might have thought it was the same pitch, same speed, off speed, but then it moves the other way and cuts the outside corner. That's pitching.
Here's Justin Bour, who leads the club in home runs in terms of players that are active and on their roster. Giancarlo Stanton with 27 for Miami. He's been out for well over a month and approaching month number 2 out of their lineup. And think about this. Stanton with 27 home runs is still 4th in the National League. He's almost been gone 2 months. League leader Bryce Harper with 30 for Washington. That's incredible.
It is.
Here's an 0-1 pitch to Bour. His home run number 11 last night off of John Lackey.
Another way to think about what the Marlins are dealing with this year. Yelich on the disabled list now. Stanton that you just mentioned. Fernandez, their best pitcher. Henderson Alvarez, a very important starter in their rotation a year ago. I would say 4 of their 5 best players, Gordon being the 5th, on the disabled list.
Grichuk will come up firing to the plate. It is offline, and a 2-out base hit by Justin Bour as he drives in RBI number 35, and it's 1-0 Miami.
Gordon runs so well, you wouldn't think there'd be much of a shot at him. Randall Grichuk charged it well. Little liner into center field. Got rid of it in a hurry. The throw up the line a little bit, but it wouldn't have mattered. He'd have been safe either way.
Back in the major leagues with all the injuries they've had, Marcell Ozuna. He has had an interesting year, to say the least. Spent a number of days in the minor leagues, and he wasn't injured. They sent him back down to the minor leagues, a guy that had 23 home runs for them a year ago. Now he's back in the lineup in the 5th spot. Here's the 0-1. Bour at first, not a threat to steal. No steals this year. Big difference from a year ago. Broken bat that's hit to short. That's Pete Kozma. Forced play at second. There's Wong. A 2-out RBI base hit by Justin Bour. Miami strikes first. Phelps, and he is born and raised here in St. Louis. And this is the lineup that he'll face this afternoon. Matt Carpenter, Steven Piscotty, then Jason Hayward, Randall Grichuk, Yadier Molina, Colton Long, Mark Reynolds, Pete Kozma, and the pitcher batting ninth, that's Carlos Martinez. Hazelwood West, and then Notre Dame for David Phelps as you get a look at on the bench for Mike Matheny's club. He has pitched against St. Louis prior to this season when he was a member of the New York Yankees.
That came a year ago. We got the loss in a game here. Certainly had plenty of family and friends here at the ballpark. Phelps has been a starter and a reliever in his career, and he's kind of a swing man. He's probably best in that role, kind of in and out of the rotation, but he's getting plenty of work this year with all the injuries. Start number 19 for Phelps.
So 7 years in the Yankees organization, then traded to Miami. Martin Prado for Garrett Jones and Nathan Eovaldi. And also minor leaguer was involved in that deal. 0-1 pitch. Now it's 0-2. Garrett Jones for the second time released by the New York Yankees. Matt Carpenter, only the lone Cardinals position player without a hit yesterday.
Snapped his 10-game hitting streak. He's been red hot lately, and not just upping his average, but the home runs now at 18 lead the team, and he's got the most RBIs on the club out of the leadoff spot.
62. Johnny Peralta, a much needed day, so Kozma gets the start at shortstop. Peralta, bulk of the years, led the club in home runs and RBIs until this hot streak to start the second half for Carpenter. Here's a 1-2 pitch to the Cardinal leadoff man, and a strikeout of Carpenter. What does David Phelps bring to the table? It's our Hyundai pitch arsenal.
5-pitch pitcher, throws in the low 90s, and really going to mix up his pitches as most pitchers do. Not really a dominant one pitch from Phelps. Mentioned that, you know, the more innings he throws, there's questions about whether he's better off as a swing man coming out of the bullpen, maybe like a Carlos Villanueva, that he's best doing spot starts, but numbers aren't bad for him, but he has lost his last 5 decisions.
Steven Piscotty, his second 3-hit game in his last 5 last night. It's the first time that Miami has led St. Louis since the second inning of the second game back in Miami on June 24th, a span of 35 innings. Cardinals looking for the season sweep. They've never done that against Miami. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Boy, that's hard to do, isn't it?
Really is.
Think about a season sweep. You know, there's going to be some days where you show up and you just don't have it. Expect this Cardinal team to be like a machine because they've been so good all season long. You were almost kind of dumbfounded when the team lays an egg, but that's baseball. It happens, but it hasn't happened very often.
2-2. Phelps grew up a Cardinals fan. His favorite players: Ron Gant, Mark McGwire, Matt Morris, and Albert Pujols. His favorite moment was Pujols against Lidge in that dramatic postseason home run by Albert as Piscotty strikes out. Back-to-back Ks for David Phelps.
I jumped out of my chair in that moment myself.
Never forget my wife yelling at me because our newborn was sleeping and I was screaming. And that's a true story. Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Dietrich, Ozuna, Gillespie. The Marlins defense, that's their outfield. Rojas, Echeverria, Gordon, and Bohr on the infield, and Mathis is behind the plate. My wife was trying to sleep as well, and she said, "What is the matter? What's happened? What's wrong with Luke?" I said, "No, nothing. Pujols just hit a home run.
Look at this pitch.
Get over here. I don't care. We have a newborn, you moron." I said, "But it's a home run."
And that is the only time you've ever got yelled at home.
Yeah. I think there was different language, too.
Yeah.
What a moment. It's hard to believe that's been 10 years coming up in October. 2-1 on Jason Hayward, hitting .323 here at Busch Stadium, 8th best home average in the National League.
Wasn't just the fact that it was October baseball that got that moment to be exciting, but it's the best against the best, because Lidge was unhittable at that time.
This game, is it tied? Will it carry? Yes! Speaking of home runs, 1-1, Hayward, number 10, and we're tied here in the first. First home run since June 24th for Jason Hayward.
Carlos may not be stacking the cups, but he's still delivering the water at the end of the receiving line. And why wouldn't you, when your teammate helps you out like that in the bottom of the first inning, getting that run back?
Now it's Randal Grichuk batting cleanup for the 4th time this year. Homered in his first at bat last night, and one of the longest home runs we've seen hit this year at this ballpark. To give you an idea of Grichuk's power and extra base potential, he has a total of 82 hits this year. 43 of them have gone for extra bases. That's an incredible mark.
It's an interesting contrast too to watch Grichuk following Hayward. That power comes in a different package. Hayward tall and lean. Grichuk has that crouched batting stance. This is the long swing and the power of Jason Hayward. Love to see him get the arms extended like that. Grichuk, very different approach. He's just loaded for power, isn't he?
He really is. Batting style has changed from a year ago. He's paid big dividends. That misses outside. 2-out walk by Phelps. Let's turn to Rick Horton's Toyota keys to the game.
Well, key number one for me this afternoon is just kind of watching to see whether the Cardinals offense is really on the move or not. Did we start an offensive surge yesterday with 13 hits and 6 runs? And I think a key to this game today is a key that was developed over the last 2 days. You've got a rested bullpen because of the work of John Lackey and Jaime Garcia, and that could very well be a factor here this afternoon. Particularly Rosenthal and Siegrist. Cardinals bullpen, Dan, threw only 21 pitches in the last 2 games combined.
Plenty of rest then. Loudest ovation, it seems like, day after day from the home fans is for Yadier Molina. Asked him about that about a week ago, and he said, bottom line, how do you not notice it? How do you not recognize it? He said, I just feed off these fans. Two balls, no strikes with 2 outs and a runner at first. That's Randal Grichuk. He has 4 steals this year. The 2-0 taken for a strike. Runners going. That's Grichuk. Hit to short. Echeverria makes the play. Cardinals strand a runner, but they pick up home run number 10 from Jason Hayward. His 41st driven in. One swing. This game is tied. Thanks to the Cardinals right fielder. Beautiful day for baseball here at Busch Stadium. Big crowd, over 40,000 yet again. Cardinals looking for a sweep. We're tied up 1-1 after one. #1 app for live baseball, in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. The Cardinals now have 7 players with 10 or more home runs. So
nice.
we talk about a lack of home runs. Well, it's spread out. Reynolds picked up his 10th last night. Hayward his 10th today. Brandon Moss added to the team, came over with 10 plus, so now is 7. Here's Cole Gillespie. Here's an 0-2. Gillespie with a 6-game hitting streak on the line. He's batting .480 during this time. And the 1-2 pitch. Last time out, Carlos Martinez very good. And we thought that Mike Matheny may pull him after the 6th inning.
Right.
Much of that decision came down to Yadier Molina. Molina convincing Matheny to stick with him proved to be the right decision.
So Yadi was able to see something just, you could see it in the eyes of Martinez perhaps. I know Mike Matheny likes to talk about that as well. You look into their eyes to see what kind of gas they have left in their tank. But Martinez had given up a couple of hard hit balls even the inning before. So that alone as an indication, you would say, well, maybe you go to the bullpen. I was certainly thinking that he would, but they made the decision to stay with him, and it paid great dividends.
Remember, the top of the lineup was 4 for 6 heading into those innings against Martinez. And a strike. May have been low, but it goes Martinez's way. His 2nd strikeout.
This is the 4th called strikeout already, and we're just in the 2nd inning. Right on the edge. I'd want that pitch.
Echeverria steps in, riding a 9-game hitting streak. 278 overall.
He's a good player, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Love watching him play defense, and we've talked about that. But you look up with Stanton not in their lineup, Echeverria, who hits in the bottom portion of their lineup, the 46 RBIs, tops on the club now.
We had a conversation on a post-game show a week or so ago about Lance Lynn maybe being one of the underrated pitchers in baseball over the last couple of years, and then it kind of blossomed into a conversation about what's the all underrated team in Major League Baseball. We had a lot of people kind of,
I like that,
replied through Twitter and gave their thoughts and suggestions, and on top of everybody's lists as the shortstop was Adeiny Echeverria, and I think a great choice.
Give me some other names.
As a guy that's underrated. Well, Brian Dozier, I think. He's an all-star, so that made it kind of hard to say whether he's underrated. But most people in baseball don't know much about Brian Dozier. But look at his numbers.
Here's an 0-2. Hit the other way, coming on Hayward. 2 down. Two outs, and it brings in Jeff Mathis.
Some of the other players on that team that are underrated, I can't remember, which goes to show you just how underrated they are.
What about A.J. Pollock of Arizona?
That'd be one.
He's coming through with a terrific 2 to 3 months. One of the best players right now in baseball. Hayward won't be able to get to that one. Drops in for a base hit off the bat of Mathis, the 8th place hitter. 2-out hit, and extends the inning to the pitcher David Phelps.
And a balk was just called for the 2nd day in a row. And Molina's not sure about this one. He wants to come out and get an explanation. And he's not just talking to Carlos Martinez. He's talking to our second base umpire, Will Little, I think, about whether or not this is really a balk or not. What does he do? Steps on the rubber? Not sure what he did.
So here is David Phelps, 4th at bat for Miami with a runner in scoring position with 2 outs here in the 2nd. That's tapped foul. It was interesting last night, you know, early on Lackey was hit hard. Also there was a balk, and sometimes that'll unnerve a pitcher, and yet he pitches into the 9th inning last night.
Well, you might be able to kind of get the attention of John Lackey. You might get him aggravated, but to unnerve him, that's a different story.
Martinez makes quick work of David Phelps. Marlins have stranded 2. We're tied at 1. And celebrating his birthday here at the ballpark from Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Happy birthday to Bob Montgomery. Let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Dan, GM John Mozeliak apparently telling our friends at KMOX that Matt Adams would be heading to the complex in Florida to resume baseball activities. We had Matt on the pregame show. He hadn't gotten word about that, but he is very pleased with his rehab. He'd been on the DL with a quad strain. He had the surgery. He told me he's been hitting off the tee and taking controlled swings off short throws. He said he's also been doing some sprinting, running at 80%. He says the quad hasn't been an issue at all. Dan, he told me he's just waiting to be told what the next step is. It could be Florida.
Well, Thursday is an off day for the Cardinals. And in terms of the injured players, Adams is ahead of most. Holiday not as far ahead, but not that far behind, if you follow me. And he could be sent to Florida as well. So the club getting healthier for the stretch run. Wouldn't that be something to get Matt Adams back in this lineup?
I think the key thing there to talk about going to Florida is you can kind of manufacture some baseball related kind of activities down at the complex because the minor league seasons are running out. They end here in a couple of weeks.
September 7th.
You're talking about having rehab games. You're really kind of out of luck with that once you get into September. So trying to find them some game speed activities the best you can down in Florida sounds like a good idea.
I'm going to throw a crazy one at you, one that many did not think would ever happen this year. Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright telling me the other day that he feels really good, to the point that, is it out of the question that he would return this year? He tells me no. Now, still a lot of medical hurdles to clear, but Wainwright is feeling great. Could you imagine if you could add an Adam Wainwright to this staff at some point? You got to love the intro music here from Mark Reynolds. Wow, guys are into it.
It's the dating game, right?
I have no idea what that was.
It's the dating game theme song.
If you're wondering, the players pick their intro music too.
Most of the time. I know that Peter Borges' song was picked for him because I asked him if he really liked Dr. Dre, and he said, I don't know why that song plays when I go up. I have no idea.
But he just rolls with it.
He just rolls with it.
We had Tony Cruz, the Wolf of Wall Street.
Now that was funny.
When he played it, everybody's just looking around like, what is going on here? Because some people hadn't seen the movie, and you're hearing, you know, normally it's kind of an upbeat song or something you're used to, maybe a famous song, and you're hearing Matthew McConaughey start doing that, and you're like, what is going on here?
Something tells me that Jim Hayes can find out about the dating game theme song.
Oh yeah,
for Mark Reynolds.
I thought back in the 80s when you were introduced with Barbra Streisand, that was awesome.
Well, as you know, Dan, they didn't have walk-up songs back in the day.
Hey, we have an adult hat coming up. Labor Day weekend, celebrate in style. 25,000 fans ages 16 and older receive an adult cap that proudly displays the American flag inside the STL logo. For tickets and more information, visit cardinals.com/promotions. So I stand corrected. I don't know how I thought that or why I thought that, but my apologies, Rick.
You realize you've just alienated all of our viewers who love Barbra Streisand.
I love Barbra Streisand. Who doesn't? I get something caught in my throat. Excuse me. Here's a 1-0 to Pete Kozma. First start since July 26th for Kozma, and there's a base hit into center field.
Way to go, Pete. So good to see that, Dan. Doesn't get to start a lot. You like to see his day start out well. He fielded the ball flawlessly. His first attempt in the hole, and he jumps on this pitch up in the zone. It's been such a disappointment in a lot of ways. If you love Pete Kozma, you're around him, you do love him. His spring training was so good, and spring training numbers were so good. You thought maybe this is the season he's going to kind of blossom into that
totally agree.
Really effective bench player, part-time starter, and it just hasn't worked.
We were down there for the majority of spring training, and I thought he had the most impressive camp of anybody. At one point, he was hitting 500 during spring training. And I understand it's the old adage, don't buy into what you see in spring and in September. I get it. But this has been a major league shortstop that took a team to a World Series, playing every day at a very difficult position. 1-1 to Carlos Martinez. Late with that swing, and it's 1-2. Two outs, runner at first. Kozma does have 2 steals this year, and Martinez strikes out as he drops to a knee. Phelps 4 strikeouts facing the first 9 today. We're tied up. It's 1-1 as we head to the third. Come your way at 5:30 with our 2015 Cardinals Hall of Fame special, presented by your Mid-America Chevy dealers, Porsche, Simmons, Flood, and Kissel. All inducted into the Cardinals Hall of Fame. You'll see that tomorrow, again at 5:30. The AT U-verse rewind. Jason Hayward with his 10th home run. That tied it up at 1-1, and that's where we stand right now in the top of the third. Fun attempt here by D. Gordon. Tough play for Carpenter, and safe at first. D. Gordon now with 38 infield hits. Playing in anyway, and still can't make the play with the speed of Gordon.
And 9 bunt hits now for D. Gordon. And you know the Cardinals know it's coming, and then the decision is in front of Matt Carpenter. Do you try to pick it up or do you let it go? And I don't know that that ball was going to go foul. He had to make that decision on the run. And I think he thought he might have a chance to actually get Gordon too, but was a step late.
a strike to Miguel Rojas. D. Gordon now with 39 multi-hit games. He has a stolen base in this contest, number 36. Leads the National League in hits with 142. He's had a tremendous season. A 1 pitch to Miguel Rojas. Cardinals pitch out. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Big lead for Gordon.
Oh, he got him. The tag there by Reynolds, and Gordon picked off for the second time in this series.
Perry Hill is the first base coach for the Marlins, and he wants Dan Jennings to think about challenging this call at first base. He actually called for it before Gordon did. He thought he might have been safe. I said Gordon had a big lead. Well, maybe too big a lead. Here's the tag. I think he's safe.
Have you confirmed whether or not Reynolds' walk-up song was the dating game?
Yes.
It is confirmed.
It's actually Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass song that they used in the dating game.
The fans booing as Dan Jennings still at the top step, waiting as to whether or not they want to review this and challenge.
Seems like there ought to be a time limit for this.
Agreed.
And that we've exhausted. You're either in or you're out.
And that'll be it. They will not challenge. And so Gordon is picked off. You know, there is a tie-in to the Cardinals Hall of Fame and the dating game. And I'm dead serious.
Okay, I'll bite. What is it?
Curt Flood's wife, widow, who was here at the ballpark yesterday,
Yes.
appeared on the dating game. Curt Flood was watching that episode and called to get her number. And she refused, and the station did not give the number to her for a long time. And then finally they gave in and said, sure, here's her number. Her father had to convince her to go out with Curt Flood. Those two went out, became married. That's the connection with the Cardinals Hall of Fame and the dating game. Not bad, huh?
That's impressive that you knew that. Now, how does this tie into it being Mark Reynolds' walk-up song?
I have no idea.
Okay.
None.
You can't know everything.
No. I had the chance to visit with Kurt's widow yesterday. She was an actress. Appeared on many shows, a couple of movies. Beautiful lady. Long, tough play. That was not an easy play for Colton Long, and out number 2.
Special day here yesterday. Very, very special. Enjoyed your interview with Ted Simmons during the game yesterday. Here we look at Colton Long showing his range. When Colton has made errors this year, he's been in situations where he's rushed and tried to be too hurried. And it seems like he's gotten a better feel for the flow of the speed at this level and how quick you have to be. And the 10 errors that he has, Dan, most of them came early.
Yeah, you mentioned it and then looked it up. We were doing a game about a week ago, I guess, and remember on opening day he had 1 or 2 errors here at home.
Sometime in early June he'd already had 9, and he only has 10 now. So he's really done a nice job.
How about the quick feet of Carlos Martinez, and he throws a seed over to first base to Reynolds right on the bat. Athletic play to pick off D. Gordon. Popped up left side. Cosma going out. Calls off everyone, and the shortstop makes the play. Take a look at the 3 outs in this inning. The pickoff of D. Gordon. The attack applied by Reynolds. Out number 1. Then Cole Long ranging to his left from the outfield grass. And Pete Kozma putting that one away. Midway through 3, we're tied up at 1. The hashtag MW Data Strong Fan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Here's the top of the lineup. Carpenter was called out on strikes. First time up and looks at strike 1. We're underway here in the home half of the 3rd, tied up at 1. Not only has Carlos Martinez pitched well this year and has a very nice record, as we've talked about, but the Cardinals win when he's on the mound. They are 18-3 in his starts. Miami 5-13 in the 18 starts for David Phelps. Base hit into right field, Matt Carpenter.
Pretty big contrast there. What you said when you show up at the ballpark and you know Martinez is pitching. Of course, Michael Wacha not very far behind him in that stat. Here's the swing of Matt Carpenter on a ball down in the zone. He went down to get it. Little looping line drive to right center.
We talked an awful lot about Ted Simmons and should he or should not be in the Hall of Fame. We both believe he should be. Curt Flood has got to be in the Hall of Fame as well for what he's done both on and off the field. Change the game, change sports.
The Gold Gloves and the numbers aside, he did so much for the players, it would make sense. Now, if the players were voting, I mean, if it depends on who's voting. Clearly, it's a kind of a sports writer community process to go through the voting to get into the Hall of Fame, but I think players certainly owe a lot to Curt Flood.
That may be a problem too. If you went up to the modern day player, and just the average player, and said, do you know who Curt Flood is and do you know what he did? I'm not sure you'd get a response that would lead itself to them understanding what he went through, what he fought for, and what these players enjoy.
I think Tony Clark, who's the new Union head, who was a former player, really good player, in fact, switch hitter for years in the big leagues, and he's a very sharp guy. We saw him in spring training address the media, and he's just very, very smooth, very sharp, as I mentioned, and I think going to be a great leader for the Union. I think that's kind of on his agenda, to do a little more educating of the past and kind of the way things were 40, 50 years ago for the young player. Not that you have to know all the details, but certainly understand who you should be indebted to.
You have the chance to watch it. If you're a young fan out there, Curious Case of Curt Flood, put together by HBO. It was terrific in finding old pictures, documentary on his life. Also a well-paid slave, which is Curt Flood's fight for free agency, if you ever had the chance to read that. Double play ball, 6-4-3. No, they throw it away. Mathis, though, backing up, and they cannot turn the double play.
There's somebody at first base after that errant throw. Piscotty may have been out as he started towards second base and realized that that ball was in the hands of the catcher and had to try to scamper back, but nobody there to cover. Here's the ground ball, hit hard. Taylor made double play, really, and the errant throw. And there's Mathis, nobody to throw to. Piscotty would have been out.
A base runner has to make at least the initial few steps in direction towards second base. As Hayward jumps on this one, his second of the day into the Cardinals bullpen. Oh, Hayward this afternoon. 3-1 Cardinals. Jason Hayward, home run number 10, now home run number 11. 3 RBIs. He's up to 43, and it's 3-1 St. Louis. To finish the thought, by the way, on Piscotty, there has to be intent to go to the bag at second base.
And that could be a big play in this game because that adds a run to this home run for Jason Hayward. There's a conversation on the mound about Phelps, and they're going to bring the trainer out. We'll see what's going on there. But, Dan, I wanted to comment about the crowds the last few days. They have been very, very supportive. When Jaime Garcia came off, when John Lackey came off, and that curtain call for Jason Hayward, it's as loud as it's been here at Busch Stadium all season long.
Agreed. That's Chuck Hernandez with Dan Jennings. Chuck is the pitching coach of the Marlins. A very good one, well respected in the game with the training staff of the Marlins, and we'll see if we'll have a change, and we will. Left-hander coming in, that's Chris Narveson. See if we pick up anything on this delivery. Hayward now 4 home runs this season of his 11 have come against the Marlins. 11th in his career, most against any opponent in his 6 career multi-homer games. Chevy called to the pit. Tell you about the change when we come back. Of Narveson, all the time that he needs to get loose. Cardinals lead it 3-1, and let's go back to the home run.
2 big swings in this game. That's middle. That's home run number 1 for Jason Hayward. That came in the first inning. Third inning, same spot pretty much, right in the middle of the plate and away. Saw the reaction of Phelps, and you just wonder whether something was going on with him physically with his arm. Don't know. We'll wait to hear. But you could tell that the catcher was aware of it right away, Mathis. And that's brought Chris Narveson into the game. Now, Chris Narveson has the thrill of somewhere in his house, he's got a World Series ring from the 2006 Cardinals. He came up, just pitched 5 games for the Cardinals that year, and then went on to Milwaukee, had some good years with them. Has had some injury issues in his career. When he's right, the best pitch he has is his curveball.
Let's look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal. Narveson was a second-round pick by the Cardinals in 2000. And appeared in the 2003 All-Star Futures game for the U.S. team. Narveson traded by the Cardinals to the Rockies in 2004. He was the player to be named later in the Larry Walker deal. In 2005, the Rockies picked him up, or rather traded him, excuse me, to the Boston Red Sox with Charles Johnson for Byung-Hun Kim. Put on waivers by Boston, and that's when he came back into the organization with St. Louis. And yes, if you appear, you will get a World Series ring. For instance, Dan Uggla has gone back to San Francisco for the first time, and they just gave him his ring for last year's World Championship team with the Giants. He had, I think, 9 at-bats with them. You're part of it.
You're part of it. Maybe not quite the same part that Madison Bumgarner was, but you're part of it. And thankful for it.
And 5 appearances, 1 start with the 2006 Cardinals. Then had a left shoulder injury. Milwaukee signed him as a free agent. So he's bounced around, but has made a living in pro baseball. Randall Grichuk is our BJC Healthcare difference maker. He, along with Matt Carpenter, providing some power since the All-Star break. Carpenter and Grichuk combined for 17 home runs. The count is 1 ball, no strikes. Grichuk walked his first time up. First pitch out to center. Ozuna back at the wall, and he's got it. Just enough room.
You're never quite sure when you come into a game like this whether you've thrown enough warm-up tosses, and when your first pitch is hit 399 feet to straightaway center, you might start second-guessing yourself a little bit. Can I have a few more?
In steps Yadier Molina with 2 outs, nobody on. Speaking of the Giants, we'll see Buster Posey and the Giants first of 3 tomorrow to wrap up this 9-game homestand. Off day on Thursday, then a long trip out west. San Diego, Arizona, San Francisco. Molina to center field. And there's Ozuna on the track. A few more warm-ups.
They'll get him next time.
Hard hit balls. Here could be Toronto. Very good chance along with Houston and the Mets. Miami, last time they were in the playoffs, they won the World Series in 2003. Josh Beckett, spectacular against the Yankees.
Hard to imagine that 3 of the teams wouldn't be off of that list. If you're just talking about being in the playoffs, the Blue Jays are the hottest team in the game right now. And Houston's been solid all season long. They really came on quickly. Their pitching is so much better. They're more than just Altuve right now. And the Mets, boy, did they make themselves better at the trade deadline.
Kansas City, you'd have to say, is a lock to get to postseason play and match what they did a year ago. Justin Bour, first pitch, grounded to Mark Reynolds. The only team that ever held a first place lead of at least 12 games with fewer than 50 on the schedule left and didn't finish first, the 1951 Dodgers. So when you look at what Kansas City has going for them right now, 12-game lead, virtual lock for postseason play. Strike with a fastball to Marcell Ozuna. A few years ago, I remember hearing the name of Carlos Martinez, and then there were visa issues. Club really wanted to take a hard look at him in spring training. You may recall. They said, this guy, he's a good one. There's another kid down there too. There's Trevor Rosenthal. He throws pretty hard. We like him. There's a name I'm hearing now more and more and more, and that is Alex Reyes. Pitched at Springfield AA 2 nights ago. Went 6 innings, gave up 1 hit, struck out 10, and was hitting. And I talked to a scout that saw him the other night. Said he's as major league ready as any player right now in the minor leagues. How about that statement? He was hitting 100 in the 6th inning.
Yeah, hitting 100. And the time I saw him throw a bullpen in spring training this year, if he wasn't hitting 100 then, he had to be pretty close to it. And he's a big, strong guy, and just seems like he would be a durable starting pitcher type, and really had all the tools.
Martinez working quickly, 0-2. If you're the Cardinals, really no need to push him at this point. I'm sure the temptation is there. I mean, how many guys are falling off trees throwing 100 and dominating like that? But
always nice to have a good understudy waiting in the wings.
You got it. Yeah. 7 pitch, 4th inning for Carlos Martinez. Jason Hayward, a couple of home runs today, 3-1 St. Louis. Against Chris Narveson, the former Cardinal. Shelby Miller, a no-hitter through 6 innings. He's walked 3 as Atlanta leads Arizona 1-0. Always a tough decision if you're a manager and you're in the middle of a no-hitter. I mean, Shelby Miller is the future for the Atlanta Braves. He's walked 3, and apparently his pitch count very, very high. And he's already on pace to set a career high in innings this year. You're getting later into the season. You think about when is the right time to pull a young man or even a veteran like Johan Santana, who pitched a no-hitter against the Cardinals.
Well, you've heard me say this, Dan, but I contend that it's become a bigger problem than it used to be because pitchers understood how to pitch at 70% more often. So you get into a situation, you got a no-hitter, you got a lot of pitches. You don't have to throw every pitch at maximum effort. But most pitchers today are geared towards that because they understand with the specialization that if you're not throwing 95, somebody's going to think something's wrong with you.
Narveson has retired the first 3 he's seen.
Bob Forsch's favorite thing to say is every once in a while you just go out and throw BP. You throw BP fastball, guys will get themselves out. So you save the better stuff for a time when you really need it, and that's how guys threw more innings. They threw more pitches at 75 to 80%. And so you get late in the game with Shelby Miller, what's the matter with just saying, hey, go out and throw BP till somebody gets a hit? And if they keep getting ground balls or keep lining out, then you stay in.
I think it makes it even more remarkable with the historic pitching the Cardinals have put together this year. The fact they've had 2 starters go in the 9th inning and record 1 out, that's the deepest a starter has gotten this year. 1 ball, 1 strike on Mark Reynolds. Here's a 1-2. Took something off it and a strikeout of Reynolds. Let's check in with Jimmy Hayes.
Dan, I was talking to John Lackey about facing Ichiro. He's faced more than any other batter, and it's not even close. 126 plate appearances. Ichiro is 36 for 119, a batting average of 303 against Lackey. Lackey told me he's never seen a hitter with Ichiro's hand-eye coordination. He says the thing about Ichiro that sets him apart, the ability to hit a good pitch. Lackey told me there have been so many times in his career he had 2 strikes on Ichiro. He throws him a pitch that would get any other hitter out, and Ichiro gets a base hit. Then Dan Lackey thought about it and also added Ichiro is really good at hitting pitches that aren't so good. A lot of respect from Lackey.
Yeah, 10 years in a row of 200 or more hits for Ichiro. 262 one season. Just a remarkable talent. Pete Kozma singled to center field, first time up.
I think it's one of the things about being out here at the ballpark, 40,000 plus for this series, and it seems like, again, every night, huge crowd, but you get to watch players play that 20 years from now you may say, you know what, I got to watch Ichiro play. And, you know, you may not even remember that he played for the Marlins. You may not, but you know he'll be one of baseball's greats. And especially for the young people here at the ballpark, it may be a lasting memory. I remember watching Roberto Clemente play.
Kozma into shallow right. And a 1-2-3 for Narveson.
Don't remember if I had a hot dog. Don't remember who won, but I saw the great Clemente.
Pat, we're looking forward to the post game with you and Andy. Echeverria, Mathis, and Narveson due up. Base hit to left. Echeverria lined out to right first time up. 1 for 2.
Pretty quick hands on a fastball up and in. Not a bad location. You think righty on righty, off the plate even. But he turned that around.
Jeff Mathis singled to right. 1 for 1 today. Cardinals will see San Francisco tomorrow, and no Madison Bumgarner, as Bumgarner is throwing today for the Giants. Michael Wacha and Chris Heston tomorrow. Heston, an 11-game winner. Lance Lynn and Mike Leake. That's right, Mike Leake, the former Red. His final start as a Red came against St. Louis, and he was magnificent here at Busch about a month ago. That's in game 2. Garcia will go in game number 3.
Heston may be the best rookie pitcher number wise through mid-August in the National League.
San Francisco 4.5 games back in the wild card, trailing both Pittsburgh and Chicago.
Always a good club, aren't they? They always do a lot of things well and pitch well.
Double play ball through the legs of Wong. His 11th error. Throw goes into third and not in time. Hard hit ball, and now runners at first and third and nobody out. Wong his 11th error this year.
Didn't see that coming, and I don't think Colton did either. And Taylor made as a double play just through the wickets. That's just his second error, Dan, in the last 50 games. Talked about the improvement for Colton. Didn't get that one, but 9 of his errors came in the first 57 games of the year.
Now it's the pitcher, Narveson, with nobody out. See how the Marlins want to play this.
I would think they would do a straight sacrifice here to try to get a second runner into scoring position. Pitcher yesterday, Hand, the lefty, had 2 successful safety squeezes. The bunt play where you're bunting the guy from first to second, but you also bring the runner down from third as far as he can get and see maybe if he steals a run on a sacrifice situation. And we won't find out if Carlos doesn't throw him a strike.
Last sacrifice was back in 2011 for Narveson, who's primarily been working out of various bullpens along the major league level. Three and 0.
If there's been one blip in the season of Carlos Martinez, it's been the walk. 51 walks in 137 innings. A few too many. In fact, he's 5th in the National League in walks, and he can ill afford to have one here. He's got to come back and get the pitcher. Take the out they're trying to give you.
3 and 1. May take another one here too. Inning started with a base hit by Echeverria to left field. Taylor made double play ball, hard hit through the legs of Colton Wong, his 11th error. Runners at first and third, and a count of 3 balls, 1 strike. Gets the bunt down, a beauty. Martinez, a play at the plate. Oh! Echeverria thought he slid in safely. He may have run himself right into it, out. And no argument from Dan Jennings.
Well, this is the safety squeeze we talked about. You're trying to get the runner from first to second, but you're also trying to sneak that run across. So Echeverria tries the mad dash. But it really is the expert play by Carlos Martinez that made that work. There are very few pitchers that are going to get to the ball that quickly and make the flip and even have the forethought to even try to get that runner at the plate. And there may be some questions about whether or not he's out at the plate. Dan Jennings is going to want this looked at.
To the naked eye, I did think he was safe.
I thought he was out to the naked eye at the first replay. I thought he might have been safe.
Jerry Davis, the crew chief, along with Phil Cuzzi, home plate umpire, on the headsets to New York. Martinez and the Cardinals infielders just watching the main video board here at the ballpark.
Mike Matheny watching the same board. David Bell watching the same set of replays. And I believe they're going to call him safe after they look at this. Again, a really nice bunt, but look how quickly Martinez is on that ball. Really good slide to the back of the plate for Echeverria. He says he's safe.
I'm just not sure there's enough to overturn it.
Well, that's a good point.
You know, did he catch the back of the left leg of Echeverria before the foot touched the plate?
And is the foot over the plate, or
Or
is it touching the plate?
Exactly.
I think that's the real key to this one.
Update on Shelby Miller, by the way. No hitter through 7, 102 pitches. The day that Jason Hayward, man he was traded for, has hit 2 home runs. Remember, there's not supposed to be gray area at all with these calls. None whatsoever. It has to be conclusive.
I don't think you can confirm it for sure. Whether you let it stand or not is a different question. Is there enough evidence to say that he was clearly safe? This is a tweener for me. I haven't really seen anything that is definitive yet.
I think if you're Dan Jennings, you have to roll the dice.
Oh, yeah. Important play. Why not? About Jennings' decision not to challenge the pickoff play in the 3rd inning. That could be a very smart decision for Jennings if this one gets overturned here.
So Echeverria scores. The call is overturned. It's now a 3-2 St. Louis lead. And nobody out. Best look probably right here.
Yeah, the foot's on the plate.
And here is D. Gordon back to the top of the lineup. You may see another bunt. Instead, it's a base hit into center field. Mathis held up at 3rd, and the base is loaded with nobody out. D. Gordon 3 for 3 today. Derek Lilliquist out to visit.
Nice short stroke of D. Gordon. We've seen it in this series. He just gets the bat head on it. He's a guy that doesn't walk a lot for a leadoff batter, but he sure does put the ball in play and hit it hard.
So 2 hits in the inning. I'm just watching Colton Wong, hands on his hips, head down. So hard in the game of baseball to turn the page after what should have been a tailor-made double play, and is now turned into what potentially could be a big inning for Miami.
Part of being on a team is having somebody on your team pick you up so you can be helped to turn the page quicker. You make an error if that play is made at the plate and there's an out, and then Martinez gets the next guy out. Colton's forgotten about it. Unfortunately, it's lingering right now in his mind.
Miguel Rojas Middle infield at double play depth. Outfield straightaway. Not very deep in center. The corners are in. 3-2. The Cardinals have the lead. Home half of the, or rather the top of the fifth here at Busch Stadium. No balls, 2 strikes.
Dan, what's my favorite double play?
1, 2, 3.
Easy to write, easy to remember. Not a lot of drama to it. You just get 2 outs quickly.
Martinez is the kind of guy, as well as he fields his position, you could see that happening.
Absolutely. He's also the kind of guy whose stuff induces little ground balls back to the mound, too. Defensive swings, especially down in the count.
Bases loaded. And the 1-2 pitch. Got him. A strikeout from Martinez, number 5 this afternoon, and a big one.
One of the things that's been special about Carlos Martinez, but really the entire Cardinals staff, is their ability to strand runners, and an opportunity here in this inning for Carlos. For every run the Cardinals give up, they strand 2.56. That's the best percentage since 1914. As long as they've kept stats like this, the Cardinals staff is terrific at leaving runners stranded. Interesting, the Cardinals on that list 2 other times as well.
Now Derek Dietrich. Strike 1. He's 0 for 2 today. Was called out on strikes looking back in the first, and popped out to short.
Who do you think wants the one hopper right now?
I would like to say Colton Wong.
You bet. Or at least be in the middle of turning a double play.
He's one of those players that gets very down on himself at
Yes.
times, hard on himself. Skip Schumacher was very much like that. And time is called. 1 ball, 1 strike, bases loaded, 1 out. Miami with 6 hits today. The Cardinals with 4. Martinez 67 pitches thus far. The 2-1. 2-2. Change up that time again. Dietrich saw that. Remember in the first at bat he had, it was a 2-1 changeup, and then he went with a 2-2 curveball. Let's see if he follows that similar pattern here.
Pitchers always like to mix up their patterns. The hitter knows you did it. You know you did it. Is it time to change and do something else or not?
2-2. And it's hit down the right field line. Went with the breaking ball, and it's into the corner. 2 runs will score. They'll wave in another. 3 runs will score. Dietrich, a bases loaded triple. And the Marlins go back on top. He went back with it. Dietrich was ready for it.
This time the breaking ball caught a little more of the plate than the last one did, but the same sequence. He tries the back door again, but it comes out over the middle of the plate, really down and in, and the lefty Dietrich just drives it into the right field corner. A shame the way this inning has kind of deteriorated for Carlos Martinez, who'd been going so well. think just another example, Dan, of just how hard this game is.
Infield in. 4 runs have scored. That's a fair ball, and Bohr will be out.
Bohr did not believe that this ball was fair when Yadi catches it. There's the ball, hits down, doesn't matter where it hits, it's where it ends up. And the question is, when it ends up in the glove of Yadi or Molina, everybody looking at it, where's the ball now? Is it in fair territory or not when Yadi catches it? It's so hard to tell from really any angle. But Yadi heads up. He tried to tag him too, so he didn't have to risk the throw to first with the runner at third. Yadi's always thinking. That could be a big out in this game.
Marcell Ozuna, runner at third, 2 outs. One thing to keep in mind in this start for Carlos Martinez, went very deep in his last game. Tuesday, 108 pitches. And the one time that he went deep in a game, and then the previous start, the next start rather, he was roughed up. And as you mentioned, the bullpen has thrown a total of 21 pitches in this series, so you may see that bullpen at some point here today. Already 73 pitches for Carlos. As we say that, Villanueva is up and throwing. Ground ball that's hit to short. Cosma back, hands it, and makes the play. Ozuna 0 for 3. The air by Wong, costly. 4-run score, 5-3 Miami. Just for you. Now with the StubHub app, you can select your favorite teams and artists and discover new ones too. StubHub, let the fun find you. The official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals.
You got word, Dan, that Phelps left the game with right elbow discomfort. I think that kind of is what it appeared to be. Holding his arm down at his side after the pitch he delivered to Grichuk. So let's hope that's nothing serious for David Phelps, the starter here today for Miami. A couple birthdays to announce. Alexandria Jones celebrating a first birthday, and Brett Bainbridge 30th birthday here at the ballpark.
Peter Borges pinch hitting for Carlos Martinez, who goes 5 today. That pitch is popped up, and D. Gordon puts it away. Martinez with 5 more innings today, slightly over 30 more innings pitched than he had all of last year. And it's about grinding through innings, not necessarily the number of innings. That was a taxing inning, clearly. So with the bullpen rested, they're going to give him a little time to regroup and think about that next start. The Cardinals have 30 come from behind wins this year. 30.
Well, I'm not to pin it on Colton Wong because he's been so good defensively, but that's an entirely different inning if he catches that ball and turns it into a double play. You're not just talking about one out, you're talking about 2 sure outs because it was hard hit. Now, again, it was hard hit, so that's kind of on Carlos, but really should have been out of that inning. But that shows you how important the defense is when they do make plays night after night. So we keep talking about the pitching and how good they've been, but you can't have good pitching without good defense.
Shelby Miller allows 2 hits in the 8th. Nick Ahmed and Jared Saltalamacchia, the former Marlin. Atlanta leads 1-0, so he loses the no-hit bid. Good breaking ball there from Narveson. Fools Carpenter, and he strikes out for the 2nd time. Don't miss the Cardinals Care 6K run on Sunday, September 13th. You'll be taking on a route through downtown St. Louis. You'll finish on the field at Busch Stadium. The run benefits area kids through Cardinals Care. For more information and to sign up, head to cardinals.com/6K. Narveson has come in relief of Phelps and has struck out 2.
Talked before game 1 of this series about this Miami team. You don't necessarily think of them as having a shutdown bullpen, but one thing they've been good at is holding leads they've had after the 6th inning.
In the air, center field, off the bat of Piscotty, number 1 in the big leagues. First major league home run, Stephen Piscotty. Game number 24 for Piscotty, first major league homer. He wasn't sure whether or not to go out for the curtain call. I think it's the first time I've seen him crack a smile. Speaking of home runs, here's Hayward, who has 2.
Pretty modest, unassuming guy.
Liner into center, and Ozuna makes the catch. A moment he'll never forget. First major league home run, Stephen Piscotty took 24 games. 1 swing, the solo shot, and it's a 1-run lead for Miami. is they're going to try to get that home run baseball off the bat of Piscotty, first ever Major League home run, and some parting gifts for our fans here at the ballpark, and I'm sure they'll be very nice. Love the drink run with any size, any flavor McCafe shake for just $1.99 at McDonald's. So congratulations, Stephen Piscotty, first Major League home run, RBI number 11. And boys, he contributed since being called up to the big leagues. Take a look at our DraftKings and the contribution of Randall Grichuk, what he's done. DraftKings.com, enter the promo code CARDS. Most home runs by rookies this year. I think more and more people are talking about Randall Grichuk as the National League Rookie of the Year. Why not?
And he's more than just a power hitter. Does a lot of things well. And he's getting better.
Carlos Villanueva, our Chevy, called to the pen in relief of Martinez. Appearance number 28. He's filled a very important role for the Cardinals in the pen.
It's a very nice season going, and this is exactly the kind of game where what he does matters. Trying to keep a game close, get a few extra innings where the starter doesn't go more than 5, and kind of bridge to the back end of the bullpen. And that's what he's done. He's been very successful at it. One of the things you like about Villanueva is stuff is so different than Carlos Martinez. And I always thought that was important when you kind of pick a reliever. You bring in a reliever who throws just like the guy you took out, you might be asking for trouble.
Think about that with Cishek and Randy Choate. Different look.
Nice to have a guy who's a fastball guy, have a slider guy, and different arm angles, and changeup guy. I think that is part of it.
2-2. Martinez, 5 innings, 5 runs on 7 hits, struck out 5, no walks, no homers allowed. They sent 8 to the plate last inning as Villanueva gets the strikeout of Cole Gillespie. Adeiny Echeverria has lined out to right. Started that big rally in the 5th with a single to left and has scored a run. 5-4 Miami. Where Carpenter is at third. He's in on the grass and on the line.
Well, Echeverria will get the bunt single just as D. Gordon does. So you have to take away the bunt. Backing up a couple steps now.
That's lined into right center field. Hayward on the move, won't get there. And it's off the wall. Echeverria thinking 3 with a triple. He's 2 for 3 today.
Cardinals are out homering Miami, but Miami is out tripling the Cardinals today. That's the second triple. The first one really hurt. Dietrich's 3-run triple in the 5th. Now some work to do for Villanueva in the 6th. Again, the Marlins are 36-1 when they lead after 6 innings.
Now Mike Matheny wants to visit, it looks like, with our first base umpire, and the Cardinals not sure exactly what's happening here.
I wonder if they thought maybe he missed a base.
Bag, yeah.
And that's just something you just appeal. I mean, you don't have to go through a review. The first thing you do is you do an appeal, and they doesn't look like they're going to do it. What you do is you come set, you step off, and you throw to the bag you think he missed.
One out, infield drawn in. Jeff Mathis looks at a ball. Scotty's home run measured at 418 feet. Mathis had the hard hit ball that went through the legs of Colton Wong. Would have been a double play back in the 5th. He's reached on an air. Single to right. Advanced on a balk by Martinez, then was left stranded back in the 2nd inning. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Just thinking out loud, did Mike Matheny and the Cardinals believe that that should have been a ground rule double on the ball that was hit by Echeverria? Let's take a look.
Well, that's also a possibility because of the way the ball bounced off oddly from that first bounce. It did hit the padding there, but maybe Mike thought that that could have hit the railing beyond it, and was just kind of getting a clarification as to whether or not Jerry Davis was sure about that.
Three and one. Big gap in right center field. And it's a 1-out walk. Marlins will go to their bullpen. We'll see a pinch hitter here in Casey McGee. 1967 replica ring is coming up. It's wearable. Cardinals and Pirates, September 4th, cardinals.com/promotions. And I think Casey McGee, I think potential of a double play. If you're wondering, that play would have been reviewable as well. Take a look at a ground rule double. Can Villanueva get the ground ball? Strike one to Casey McGee. Had a very productive season a year ago for Miami.
A lot of RBIs.
Yeah, finalist for the All-Star team, but hit into a ton of double plays, and he's done that again this year. Nearly 20. Here's an 0-1.
A lot of factors go into trying to get a guy to hit into a double play. Trying to make the ball move downward, trying to keep the ball down at the knees. Those are two ways.
1-2.
And you're also trying to stay out of the heart of the plate. There are times you can get a double play by jamming a hitter. You get the ball to dart in on his hands. He's jammed. He hits the ball on the ground. There's a double play. Off the end of the bat is another way. But 9 times out of 10, it's a ball kneecap or lower.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Quick pitched him. Marlins now, this is their 12th at bat with a runner in scoring position today.
Got a lot of action here today, and we're not done.
Long ways to go.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. See them trying to go to the outside portion of the plate, have him reach and roll over on a ground ball.
Exactly right. And if McGee doesn't lay off that pitch, tries to swing at it, that's probably what would have happened. So his good plate awareness has gotten him to a 3-2 count. And Molina's going to want to talk about this. He wants to make sure they're on the same page. What pitch to throw. one of the things you have to talk about right here is McGee's not having a great season. You're trying to get a double play, but you really don't want to walk him either. I mean, you don't want to be so fine here that you're overthinking it and you end up walking the guy who you'd rather pitch to, and then you got to face D. Gordon with the bases loaded. So be smart about the pitch to throw, but don't walk it.
Very short lead by Mathis at first. 3-2 pitch. Villanueva, it's a unique role as the long man and trying to stay sharp. It's been over a week since we've seen him. That's tough to do.
2 days ago, he threw a bullpen just to stay sharp after the game was over.
After the game. 3-2 pitch again from Carlos Villanueva. They start Mathis. Tough to turn to. Wong bobbled it again and safe at first. Second error by Colton Wong. The ball will find you.
Because the runner was moving, Colton felt like he had to rush this, which I think he's right in having to rush it, but unfortunately the rushing leads to this. It was a double play that Villanueva wanted, and not turning double plays has been the story of this game. Not only on the Cardinals side, but on Miami's side as well. They missed turning a double play in front of Jason Hayward, and he hit a 2-run home run that at the time gave the Cardinals the lead. So it's happened 3 times in this game.
D. Gordon is 3 for 3. I mentioned it earlier. I'm not picking on Colton Wong, but so many times, especially early in the game, if you see him make a dynamic play, he might just have a dynamic game. If you see him commit an error, sometimes it dovetails into what could be a long afternoon. And that's what's happened here today. Gordon with a fly ball out to right. Hayward puts himself in a position to throw. Makes the catch. They're tagging up. And a throw to second. Oh, yes! Hayward. Cosma to Wong. Both runners trying to tag up, and they get McGee as he runs Miami right out of an inning.
Is he out? There's the tag. He's out.
It turns into an inning-ending double play. McGee goes directly into the bag. I think he's safe. Foot was on the outside portion.
But he didn't, so he's not. By an outfielder, hits the cutoff man. First, Hayward gets in proper position behind the ball. Then he throws it on a line to Pete Kozma. And by hitting the cutoff man, this little shovel flip from Kozma to Wong ends the inning. Very well done, but it starts with good fundamental outfield defense play by Hayward.
Randall Grichuk, Yadier Molina, and Colton Wong for St. Louis. Brian Ellington is the new pitcher for Miami. Third pitcher in relief of Phelps and Narveson. Narveson did a nice job. Chevy called to the pen. Ellington's 6th appearance this year.
A lot of young guys out there for the Marlins, introducing themselves to each other.
Grichuk looks at a breaking ball, and we're underway here in the home half of the 6th. Ellington from Gainesville, Florida. Another young pitcher that's had Tommy John surgery. He was committed to play at Florida State. Then he underwent Tommy John surgery. Decommitted from Florida State. There were differences of opinion on how to rehab his arm, so he went to a junior college. 16th round pick by Miami in 2012. He was promoted on August 3rd when he made his major league debut.
He's rushing it up there, isn't he?
Going hard. That last pitch at 97. It's part of the futures game. Backhanded play by Justin Bour for the first out.
Boy, does that look like fun. You think those guys would let me join them?
Everybody having fun here at the ballpark. Molina hits it out of play. Yadi 0 for 2. He's grounded to short and also flied out to center. Fastball at 97.
He's throwing it at 97, but he also has a slinging delivery that I think would be hard to pick up. Very long arm arc backwards, slinging it from 3/4, high 3/4.
It's caught my attention.
I would think that he's hiding the ball more than most pitchers would. That front shoulder's closed. Again, he's kind of slinging it.
He's throwing hard. 1-2 pitch to Yadier Molina.
Still an awful lot of outs left to get for the Marlins bullpen.
The 2-2. Slowly hit. Ellington steps and throws, and somehow Moore stays on the bag for the out.
Boy, have we seen this a lot this year. Pitchers throwing strikes from 60 feet, 6 inches, but you make it 70 feet or 40 feet or something different, and they just don't have the same kind of command.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a different arm action. I mean, you have to throw like an infielder, not like a pitcher, and you do everything as a pitcher within a motion construct. But when you turn into an infield, it's usually a short snap throw, and pitchers just aren't used to making that kind of throw.
Here's Colton Wong, who is 0 for 2. Tough day in the field with a couple of costly errors. White Sox lead the Cubs 3-0 in the 7th. Chris Sale with 15 strikeouts so far.
My favorite pitcher I've seen all year.
Nasty when he was here. Pirates lead 4-1 in the 7th. Matt Harvey made that start for the Mets against Pittsburgh. 1 run in 6 innings. The Pirates trying to pick up a sweep at Citi Field. They won their game late last night in 14. Their bullpen has been the story of the second half. Starting pitching shaky, as we talked about, but they were in town this past week, but their bullpen has been really good. 3-0 the count on Wong. Phelps went 2 1/3. The St. Louis native left with an injury. Narveson came in with nobody on and 1 out. Went 2 2/3. And Wong drives it into right field. That'll stay in the ballpark. And Ellington a 1-2-3, bottom of the 6th. We head to the 7th. Miami on top 6-4. Great matchup starting tomorrow night. Heston, Waka, Giants, Cardinals as we come your way at 6:30 with our Budweiser What's on Tap. Second inning of work for Carlos Villanueva. First pitch is swung on and missed by Miguel Rojas. Ground ball that's hit to short. Pete Kozma. One away. Rojas is 0 for 4. It's 6-4 our score. Phelps 2 1/3. Dietrich, the big hit, a triple with the bases loaded, that scored 3. Martinez 5 innings, 7 hits, and Hayward 2 for 3 with a couple of home runs. It looks like Mike Matheny will go to his bullpen. Villanueva, an inning and a third. And here comes Randy Choate in our Chevy, called to the pen. Photo of the afternoon, presented by T-Mobile. Randy Choate is into the ball game, and he'll face Derek Dietrich and then Justin Bour.
Last time we saw Randy was last Sunday. He only threw 5 pitches in that game. He walked the one batter that he faced. He's been effective, used a lot this year.
Off his glove and a base hit, or what could have been an out. Throw back into first, and Dietrich back in safely. Dietrich is 2 for 4. Choate, former Marlin, among the many teams he's pitched for. I'll tell you what, that's tailor-made for Pete Kozma for an out.
Well, if he catches it, he's out. Or if he doesn't catch it, he's out. But if he deflects it, he's safe. Kozma would have had it. If Choate was able to come up with it, obviously we'd have been out. But such a hard thing when you're on the mound not to react.
Here's Justin Bour. RBI base hit with 2 outs to center back in the first. And he's 1 for 3 today.
There is not, Dan, there is not even the slightest thought in your head, not a bone in your body that says, hey, leave the ball alone. You just can't.
It's reaction.
You just can't help it.
Seth Maness is up and throwing in the pen. You know, he'd love to get back out there. Last time 32 pitches from Maness and was roughed up. Game 3 against the Pirates. Gave up 3 runs. 0-1 pitch. Slider taken down and away. Cardinals so fast to 75 wins this year.
19-8 since the All-Star game. You thought maybe they'd slow down. They had such a great run. And would they keep it going after the All-Star break? They sure have.
Last team was 75 wins faster than the Cardinals this year, the 2011 Phillies. 4th time they've done this quickly in franchise history. Pittsburgh has tacked on a run. They lead it 5-1 now in the bottom of the 7th against the Mets. Ford just got a piece to stay alive. Doesn't seem to be very comfortable in facing Randy Choate here.
I can't blame him. From the left side, he's kind of bailing a little on that slider, and he just could barely get his bat on the ball. I think he would get a steady diet of those sliders until he proves he can get a better swing.
There it is, and it's taken inside. 2-2.
He is a dead fastball hitter.
Runner goes. Lifted into deep left, into the corner, and out of play.
That's what scares you about throwing a fastball to a fastball hitter. Even though you've thrown 4 sliders in a row, he's still looking fastball.
The 2-2. Popped up and out of play. Marlins will head to Milwaukee after our ball game here today. Cardinals welcome the Giants to town tomorrow. 2-2.
Man, think how frustrating it is to be a Pittsburgh Pirate. You keep winning day after day, and you still look up at the scoreboard and see that you're 6 games behind the Cardinals. But how about the Cardinals' point of view? They keep pushing and winning and pushing and winning, and they're still only up 6 games. Feels like it should be more than that.
Absolutely.
And it isn't just the Pirates.
Cardinals are 8-2 in their last 10. They pick off Dietrich. Throw is wide and safe at second. First stolen base for Dietrich this year.
Well, he's picked off, and now the right-handed fielding first baseman has the tough throw to make across his body. Lefties, it's an easier throw, and I think that call is right. Cardinals looking at it, but I believe they're going to choose not to challenge this particular call. Look at it one more time. There's the foot. Well, I don't know.
He's out.
He is out. His foot didn't get to the bag. I think that is the right move. How about that? Some angles he looks safe, but the one definitive angle, I say he's out. Vini gets the word to challenge the play at second base, the pickoff. Here's the view where you see the tag of Cosmo. He's got a long way to reach. Tag is on. Now the foot is on. And we'll see what they say in New York. So officially a Cardinals challenge. Could be a key play in this game. St. Louis is trying to maintain their 2-run deficit.
The one viewpoint I think shows that he's out. Which would be the 3rd Marlin picked off at first base in this series, and the 2nd today. The other was Dee Gordon back in the 3rd.
Makes you wonder whether the Cardinals have done some expert scouting to figure out maybe not just the tendencies to steal, but maybe even the signs to steal.
think this system has bothered the umpires?
I really don't. I think what they probably have gotten from this system is a lot of validation that they're right more often than people think they are. So I think that it's kind of been a plus for umpires, number one. And I think, you know, umpires want to get the call right too. They don't want to go home at night and realize that the game was won or lost based on a call that they had to make in a split second, which was difficult to do. And I think the umpires, honestly, I'm not in the umpires union. I don't do their marketing for them. I have no relationship to them other than to say I honestly believe that they are professionals that are extraordinarily good at what they do. And until you've kind of tried this job, you don't realize how tough it is.
So Choate gets Dietrich.
One more look. This is the view we like the best. Cosma has a long way to reach from the throw. The tag's on now, then the foot.
And there's 2 outs, nobody on. It's been a pretty good battle here with Randy Choate and Justin Bour. And Bour pops it up. Maybe a little momentum in this game for the Cardinals. Put away by Cosma. Good work by Randy Choate. Time to stretch on this Sunday afternoon. Fifth, presented by AT&T. Visit cardinals.com/promotions.
There's an important sign here at the ballpark.
Second inning of work for Ellington, and here is Mark Reynolds. 7, 8, and 9 for St. Louis. It's square one up. Reynolds would send it 600 feet. Last 4 innings, the Cardinals have scored. All those runs have come via the home run. Reynolds' 3-run homer last night. Hayward 2 home runs today. Piscotty, his solo shot, is first in the big leagues. That's fouled back just below us. Outfield is deep and straight away. And an 0-2 pitch to Reynolds. Ground ball that's chopped to third. Miguel Rojas one away.
Impressed with this Ellington, with his stuff, not just the velocity, but seems like he could be a big part of this Marlins bullpen going forward. Seems to me like he has closer stuff. And interestingly enough, their closer, although a very, very good pitcher, does not have your classic closer stuff. A.J. Ramos is more of a kind of a 4-pitch pitcher. He kind of more like a starter would be. But he's done a nice job taking over for Steve Cishek when he struggled early in the season.
One on, nobody on. Here's Pete Kozma. 1 for 2 today. Single to center field and also flied out to shallow right. Here's a 1-1 to Kozma. Gateway Honda home run inning. The Cardinals player hits a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Well, you'd love to see a home run land in the laps of an unsuspecting fan out there in the bleachers taking in the sunshine.
Give him a souvenir.
Beautiful day. The sun is shining brightly and a chance to just take it all in out there in the bleachers. Here's a 2-2. I'm sure the fans are enjoying it out there as well.
A little hot today, but still comfortable. Just chilling at the ballpark.
The 2-2. So many people that we talk to are season ticket holders out there in the bleachers.
Yes.
The 3-2. That's tapped foul. Sometimes you see fans out there, they've got the headsets.
Shades are a must.
Yeah. Sometimes you go out there with a tank top, take in the sunshine. (3-2). Kozma, a ground ball to third. Hustling down the line. Crowd today of 43,826. 43826.
Good solid pitch on a 3-2 count down in the zone with good movement. I like this guy.
Brandon Moss. Ellington has come in phase 5 and he's had 4 of the 5 ground out.
I like this guy and I'm glad he's coming out of this game.
Looks to be Mike Dunn, hard throwing lefty. Chevy called to the pen to face Moss when we come back. Second appearance. ERA is close to 6. When we talked about it recently, he's had a couple of tough outings that raised that ERA, but when right, very good.
Gave up a home run to Matt Carpenter, the first batter he faced in Game 1 of this series. Also gave up a double to Peralta. Peralta, by the way, is an option on the Cardinals bench before this game is over. But staying with Brandon Moss here, lefty on lefty with Carpenter next.
So 2 outs, nobody on for Moss, who looks at a ball. Cardinals trailing 6-4. Two and 0. Jonathan Broxton is throwing in the Cardinals pen.
By the way, the young lady that caught the home run ball, or at least got the home run ball by Stephen Piscotty, we understand from the Cardinals website, got a signed baseball personalized to her from Stephen in exchange for that baseball.
Already.
So that's already been accomplished. And she's happy and all smiles.
3-0 with 2 outs, nobody on. Remember when McGuire was going for Roger Maris and then setting the all-time home run single season record at the time. The scrambles for those baseballs for what many thought could be a payday.
I remember Mark Lamping, who was the president of the club during many of those years, made the comment publicly, hey, it's the fans' property. Goes out there, they can do it. That's kind of what you come here for. And there was no, well, the players ought to get it because it's a big moment. It's like, no, you do what you want with it.
Yep. Tim Fernaris caught that famous home run. 62. Was working for the Cardinals at the time. Moss draws a walk. Tying run comes to the plate.
How loud would this place be, Dan, if we were to see a repeat of what happened in Game 1 of this series? Carpenter and Dunn.
It's just a week ago against Milwaukee when Carpenter had that dramatic 3-run homer. Carpenter is 1 for 3 with a run scored. Pair of strikeouts. Moss the run rate first. Carpenter base hit into center. Moss to second, on his way to third.
Told you I was happy Ellington was out. He was just cruising, and so far it hasn't worked for Dunn. A walk and then a base hit to the 2 lefties. The right-hander throwing for the Marlins.
But just started throwing.
But he just started throwing, and it may be too late to go get him.
Stephen Piscotty with a home run back in the 5th, his first major league home run. It's Brian Morris getting loose in the pen, and he just started to throw. Hayward on deck, who has homered twice. Here's Piscotty. 2 outs, 2 on. First pitch taken down low.
Boy, when you don't get your guy as a reliever, it throws off the strategy for a manager. I mean, the idea was he gets the lefties, then you get into the 8th, and you got the righty over the righty. But okay, now what happens? You didn't get outs when you thought you'd get outs, so now you're stretching him to pitch to Jason Hayward. That's what he's doing. But he's playing with fire with Stephen Piscotty.
1 ball, 1 strike. Piscotty last month has been one of the hottest hitters in this lineup. This big crowd is ready to erupt. Here's a 1-1. Good cut by Piscotty. Home runs, the story of this game today for St. Louis. Back in the first, Jason Hayward. That's number 10. Then in the third, number 11. A 2-run shot. Then in the fifth, a moment he'll never forget. First major league home run, Stephen Piscotty. He's in the hole. 1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 runners on. Struck him out. Dunn gets his man. So he strikes out Piscotty. Cardinals strand 2. They have left 4 on today. Our studio and a Bomberito Sports Update with Pat Paris. Pitched so well this year. Hard to imagine 16 consecutive winless starts. Shelby Miller. Seth Maness is our Chevy called to the pen. Appearance number 58.
As you mentioned, nice to get back out there again. He got roughed up in his last start. Jason Hayward, by the way, has moved to center field. We've seen Borges in this game already, and he's out. So Hayward moves to center, Piscotty to right, and Moss to left. That's a defensive alignment we've not seen.
Randall Grichuk has been getting treatment with a foot ailment. He's had an issue with his foot last few weeks. Just hope that's not something that he's dealing with now, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense for him to be taken out of this game. Clearly, when he's due up second for the Cardinals coming up. Inside, and it's 2-2. Marcell Ozuna is 0 for 3. Maness has been a busy man this year. 58 appearances. That's tied with Kevin Segras for most on the club.
Cardinals, by the way, cannot double switch with this new alignment either because Moss was already in the game as a pinch hitter. You can't double switch and move Moss again in the lineup. So with only 1 new player coming into the game and Maness and 1 going out in Grichuk, Maness will be due up second in the bottom of the 8th.
Cole Gillespie is hitless, 0 for 3. one of those rare outings in which Manus just didn't have it the other night.
Sinker was flat. Wasn't moving down as that last one did.
Well, he's been good for a while now. 2013, 14, here in 15. The 1-1. Game number 117 for the Cardinals, and Manus 58th appearance as Wong can't get to it. And it drops in for a base hit.
Jam shot for Gillespie, his first hit in on the fists. Somehow gets that ball in the air. Colton stumbled a bit, not sure he could have caught it anyway. Echeverria, by the way, hits into a fair number of double plays for a guy that can fly.
He has singled and tripled today. 2 runs scored. Shows bunt. Yeah, if you're Mike Matheny, I mean, you'd love to bring Peralta to the plate with a chance to tie the game or put them in front. In this particular case, you'd have to wait for Hayward to get on base and then pinch hit for Manus to have that opportunity. And they turn 2-0. What a screamer to Carpenter on the line out. Playing in and on the line. We noticed that defensive alignment the previous time with Echeverria. That's self-defense too.
Right man, right spot. Almost a double play.
Now it's Jeff Mathis. He's been on base 3 times today. A walk, reached on an error, costly missed opportunity for the Cardinals. What would have been a double play in the 5th led to a big inning. And he singled to right back in the 2nd. Mathis trying to bunt his way on. Got the pitcher done on deck, or at least his spot. Former Marlin Miguel Cabrera now has 1,426 RBI, passing Andres Galarraga for most by a Venezuelan-born player. Back to Manus, knocks it down, plenty of time, and a flip to first. Marlins strand a runner midway through 8. 6-4 Miami. Budweiser, make a plan to make it home. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals will have Hayward. Main is his spot, which Johnny Peralta has grabbed a bat. He's at the on-deck circle. He'll pinch hit for him. And then Yadier Molina. On the surface, obviously, it's a move that doesn't make a lot of sense unless something physically isn't right with Randal Grichuk. I'm sure we'll find out more in the postgame. Hayward, 2 home runs here today. One time he made it out, hit a screamer to center. First pitch is strike. Miami with a right-hander in their pen. Dunn came in, walked Brandon Moss, gave up a single to Carpenter, struck out Piscotty to end a threat in the 7th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's a 1-1. Phelps made the start, was injured. Apparent arm injury, went 2 1/3. Narveson 2 2/3, gave up a run. Phelps 3 runs. Ellington ending in 2/3, no runs allowed. 2-1.
It's like Jason had a pitch to hit right there, or at least thinks he had a pitch to hit. Tell by his reaction.
Two. They'll find the seats out of play.
I'm trying to think, Dan. I can't think of anything that we saw regarding Randal Grichuk that was any indication of any problems. He made a strong throw from center field on a ball that was hit there and tried to double off a runner. And last at bat, he hit the hard ground ball to the right side. Didn't seem like there was an issue. Actually, a good at bat. So we'll have to wait and see.
Out of play again. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Hayward. To the count. Happy birthday to Christy Humes. Christy Humes, big Cardinal fan, watching today on Fox Sports Midwest. 3-2. Hayward chops it to the right side. 2 for 4 today with a pair of home runs, and Dunn gets the first man. By Hayward making this out, you just wonder, Rick, if that keeps Dunn now in this game, because you face the right-handed hitting Peralta, and then you look at the potential of getting down to Wong, maybe.
Right.
Do you stretch it like you talked about before?
Well, I think that possibility is there, but I don't think that's going to happen as Dan Jennings has come out of the dugout. It looks like he wants to communicate a double switch. He's got a right-hander loose. He's asking for him. And now they've got some paperwork to do. Even baseball, Dan, has paperwork.
and he will get Johnny Peralta. Part of a double switch is Ichiro Suzuki takes over in right field. So Ichiro will bat ninth. Cardinals 16-2 in hitting 3 or more home runs since 2013. They've hit 3 today. So it tells you hit 3 home runs, you normally win. We'll see if that will happen in a comeback victory today. There's Ichiro. He'll lead it off, looking ahead to the ninth. Morris goes into the 6th spot in the lineup for the Marlins. Well, we are missing a left fielder, and here he comes out of the bullpen. I believe Gillespie shifts from right to left. Which then would take Dietrich out of the game. Yeah, well, I'll figure it out here in a little bit.
Told you there was some paperwork, and you're exactly right. That is what happened. Gillespie has moved to left. Took him a while to find left. Also, an odd thing, when the pitcher came to the mound, Brian Morris was motioned to come in early, and by the time they finished the paper, it took a long time, conversation between manager and home plate umpire. By the time he got to the mound, the pitcher was still there, done. And the pitcher coming in from left field had to wait in the outfield because he didn't want to be on the mound with the rest of the guys.
That's odd.
I don't remember ever seeing that.
Morris gets the first man. 5th pitcher used by Miami today. Peralta grounds out. And it brings in Yadier Molina, hitless in 3 plate appearances. Pittsburgh has opened up an 8-1 lead on the Mets. That's in the 9th. The White Sox hold on and win and post a W against the Cubs 3-1.
I'm sure there's a reason, but I can't tell you what it is for why Dietrich's out of this game. Taking a left-handed bat out. He's got 2 hits in the game. And it would make sense to double switch for Gillespie, as Dietrich's spot is up 4th in the 9th inning. So maybe an issue with him.
1-2 on Yadier Molina. Grounded is short, fly to center, grounded back to the pitcher. And the 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. A 2-run lead for Miami with 2 outs. Nobody on. Well, you'd love to have Wong come up with a runner on and a chance to atone for 2 costly errors today. He waits on deck. The 2-2. A fly ball lifted out to left. Gillespie is there. The Cardinals go in order. Miami. Jonathan Broxton into the ball game for St. Louis. Our Chevy called to the pen. 47th appearance for the big man. And Broxton will get Ichiro, Gordon, and Rojas.
Really, the number's not that bad for Jonathan Broxton, other than the earned run average. And you look at hits per inning, and the walks aren't particularly high. The strikeouts are high. So far, so good as a Cardinal. One little blip, but otherwise good.
Ichiro has made some history here in St. Louis. So he lines that into left center. There's Jason Hayward. Ichiro tied Ty Cobb. The term that's used is professional hits. Combined in Japan and Major League Baseball.
Still think we need another name.
It would be a longer one, but a way to say professional hits at the highest level in Japan and the United States.
In whatever particular country you're from. That's way too long.
Here is D. Gordon. He's had a nice day. 3 hits, 3 for 4. A.J. Ramos is getting loose in the pen for Miami, their closer. Cardinals will have Wong, Reynolds, and Cosma coming up. If anybody could reach, then Brandon Moss. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Tapped foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Achilles looking pretty good for Adam Wainwright. He's hopping down there to get that foul ball.
Something tells me every time he hops, the trainers are watching him.
I know I am. If I am, you know they are.
Greg Houck, Chris Conroy, and of course Adam Olson, who does a lot of work as a rehab coordinator, getting guys ready who have had injuries. I'm sure Adam's been involved with Adam. There's Chris, maybe discussing that hop you were talking about.
We got other guys who can go get that slow roller.
All 3 of the guys I mentioned who work helping these guys stay healthy, they all have a really nice, even keeled demeanor. All 3 of them. So likable. Boy, in that job you better be.
Long hours.
Yep.
You're dealing with frustration on the player side.
Yeah, you are the front line of the player's worst moments. Bad arm, pulled hamstring.
Good to see Gene Gieselman, longtime Cardinals trainer, at the Hall of Fame yesterday. Two and two.
Sorry I missed it. Did such a great job for years as a Cardinals trainer, and he's here at the ballpark often with the alumni group that will come occasionally, and terrific trainer, good friend.
2-2 pitch off the mound and taken there by Cosma. Boy, Gordon 5 at bats tonight rather than this afternoon, and has hit the ball hard all 5 times. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Two outs. Here's Miguel Rojas. Little tapper that rolls foul. Marlins are 14th in save percentage out of 15 teams in the National League. We'll try to turn it over to Ramos, looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th. 0-1 pitch. 0-2. Cosma, can he get there? Near the bag, he does. 1-2-3 goes the Miami Marlins. When the Cardinals come back, 30 comeback wins this year. They trail 6-4. Game 3 for 5, 3 singles, couple of runs. D. Gordon, our Budweiser player of the game. A.J. Ramos is 18 for 23 in saves this year. Our Chevy call to the pen. And Ramos will start with Colton Long.
64 strikeouts in just 50 innings of work. Low hit total as well. Again, a 4-pitch pitcher. He's going to throw a lot of things at you. And he has 18 saves, but you think where the Marlins are, Danny hasn't had as many opportunities as some of the other closers.
Ramos out of Lubbock, Texas, the 28-year-old.
And what do the Cardinals need in the bottom of the ninth?
Loop and a blast. And then one more run.
2 bloops and a blast would work.
Ramos drafted by the Marlins, 21st round back in 2009 out of Texas Tech. The 1-0. A walk and a blast. Hit by pitch and a blast. Error and a blast.
Catcher's interference and
okay,
a blast.
I got it.
I think we exhausted all of them. Three and one. Next pitch to Wong. 3-2.
Oh, my goodness. Into the Cardinals dugout. It seems like everybody's all right.
He was headed right for the manager, if I saw that correctly.
You did. 3-2. Get out of play. Took something off it, and he strikes out Colton Wong to start this 9th inning.
Nice changeup, perfectly sold, good arm action, well placed. That's a nice pitch.
Day started with Phelps, lasted 2 1/3. Then we've seen Narveson, Ellington, Dunn, Morris, and now Ramos.
We talked about Dunn's struggles lately. Last 5 games for A.J. Ramos, 5 innings, 7 earned runs, and a home run.
(1-0) to Reynolds. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and 2 the count. Pete Kozma is on deck. Cardinals on their bench still have Tony Cruz.
Dan, you understand it has to be a bloop and a blast. You understand that's important. It can't be a blast and a bloop. If you get the blast, then the bloop, doesn't work. You're not where you want to be.
Right now, the Cardinals will take anything.
Felt like I was sounding like John Madden saying that. You got the blast, you got the bloop, you get the bloop and the blast. And then boom. I'm not sure I was looking for that, but.
Mentioned that the Pirates have now won. They posted a W. So if the Cardinals cannot come back in this game, they'd be 5 out. Chicago is lost, so they remain 7.5 if the Cardinals cannot post a win. Kozma looks at a strike. Frustrating day here at the ballpark. Cardinals were cruising, and then a couple of errors. Martinez lifted, changed the complexion of this game. Kozma trying to get on any way he can for Brandon Moss, who waits on deck.
3 different double plays were turned, 2 for the Cardinals, 1 for Miami. We may be looking at a 3-2 game right now.
One pitch to Kozma. Pete singled his first start since the 26th of July. He's also fly to right, grounded out to third. And the Redbirds are down to their final strike, 2-2 the count. Three and 2. 3-2 pitch. Kozma pops it up. This will do it. Miami salvages a game in the season series against St. Louis. Big day for D. Gordon. And the final, Miami 6, St. Louis 4. San Francisco coming to town tomorrow night.
Not the sharpest that we've seen Carlos Martinez here this afternoon, but things could have been a lot different had the defense really both ways been better in this game. But a 6-4 game. Marlins out-hit the Cardinals at 10-6. So despite 3 home runs for St. Louis, they can't sweep the series here today.
On to the post-game show. 6-4 our final. Andy and Pat standing by with all the highlights. Post-game show comes your way next.